Hang on.
You're on record.
We are on record. Meeting of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills Planning Board for Monday, May 6, 2024, at 7:30 p.m. Announcement is made that adequate notice of this meeting has been given and that it is being conducted in accordance with NJSA 10:4-6 at sec of the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act. Nora, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. DiPiero.
Here.
Councilman McGrath.
Here.
Mr. Meth.
Present.
Mr. Shaw.
Here.
Mr. Stanziel.
Here.
Chairman Dinsmore.
Here.
We also have our board planner, Ms. Winter, our board engineer, Mr. Canjiano, and our board attorney, Ms. Steinle.
If we could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, this meeting is open to the general public. Is there anyone here who has something they wish to bring to the board's attention that is not on tonight's agenda? Hearing and seeing none, we get to move right on to the resolutions. We have in your packet, you should have the information you need on the resolutions. We have one interesting item. The minor resolution can be seconded by literally anyone else who is a member of the board. So why don't we do that one first? So, Mr. Meth, do you wish to move the resolution?
Yes, I move the approval of the resolution for application 24:502-196-200 Route 46 West LLC, 200 Route 46, Block 693, Lot 14. Minor site plan for windshield repair and replace facility and signage.
Anybody like this? Well, I'll second it. What the heck? Second Dinsmore.
Matt.
Yes.
Dinsmore.
I can't vote.
You can't vote, that's right. Matt.
That's gonna go twice.
Mr. Meth voted once, yes.
And that's all we need for the memorialization, so we're good to go.
Okay.
All right, we have another resolution here, and do I have somebody willing to make a motion for 23:511 SIR Parsippany? We've got a list of people here who are eligible to vote.
Go for it, Chair. Make a motion.
Can you make a motion to approve
All
the
right,
application 23:511 SIR Parsippany LLC, 299 Jefferson Road, Block 736, Lot 7.3, preliminary and final major site plan, variance major soil moving permit to construct the warehouse with associate improvements.
do I have a second?
Second, Stanziel.
Nora, would you call the roll, please?
DiPiero.
Yes.
Shaw.
Yes.
Stanziel.
Yes.
Dinsmore.
Yes. All right, we've done the resolution, so now we move on to the agenda. All right, we start with application number 22:532, 180 Kingston Road LLC, 180 Kingston Road, Block 244, Lot 19, minor site plan with C variance for construction of an addition. And we have Mr. O'Neill.
Mr. Chairman, if I could make a statement at the beginning. As in a volunteer role, I'm the president of the Board of Trustees for the Parsippany Child Daycare Center. I do not believe that's going to influence my judgment in any way, shape, or form on this application, but I wanted to at least reveal it for the record, just in case. And if Mr. O'Neill wants me to step down, if we have a forum, I will.
Well, I'm very familiar with Mr. Meth and what Mr. Meth's operation is over there, and I think we can agree that there are plenty of kids looking for childcare in town, and I have no objection to Mr. Meth sitting in.
Okay, thank you.
Satisfied with that?
Yes, that's fine, thank you.
Very good. Mr. Neal.
Everyone, Joseph O'Neill here on behalf of the applicant. This is, as we just mentioned, a child care center in a non-residential zone, which is, of course, specifically allowed by both local ordinance and state statute. So I know we have a couple of waivers that we want to address.
Joe, can you pull the, microphone?
Yes, and I'm going to apologize in advance because I have a stiff neck, so I'm not ignoring you with the top of my head. It's just sometimes it's a little difficult to look up. Is this all right, Nora?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll go through the waivers.
Yes, please.
So the first one is regarding any protective covenants or deed restrictions. We're fine with that, just as long as testimony is provided. The Highlands exemption determination, existing and proposed signs, again, testimony is requested. Existing and proposed utility service, existing and proposed storm drainage, existing and proposed site illumination, as long as there's testimony to any changes proposed there. The location and description of existing and proposed landscaping. There was some information provided, however, it was not by a landscape architect. We don't object to that waiver request. Construction details, and specs, we're fine with that as long as the engineer is also. And the temporary contractor's construction structure, I don't believe one is required for this project. The environmental assessment report, and we are fine with that, provided that a preliminary assessment report, which is part of the licensing process anyway, is provided during resolution compliance. And then again, for Form 10, the location of easements, signs, and utility service, we don't object to.
We did do the environmental report. I thought it was.
We did get a, some sort of environmental report. If you could provide some testimony on the record with that, that'd be great.
All right, thank you.
Are there any questions by members on what waivers are being requested and why? All right, so do I have a motion approving the waivers of the planner's report of, what's the date on this puppy?
This one is April 11th.
April 11th.
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
All right. So with that, I'd like to go ahead and call my first witness. For her first time speaking in public ever. Very So she's a little nervous, but with your permission, I'd like to lead her along a little bit. So you're gonna raise your hand.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? All right, and please state your name, spell your last name, and provide your address for the record.
My name is Dhruvi. Last name is Vyas, V-Y-A-S.
And you're the operator, the proposed operator here at this site.
Laura, you recording that?
Yeah, if you could.
Yeah, she's gonna have to sit down.
Right. Would you do me a favor, please, and spell your first name?
We do that again, spell your name.
Dhruvi, Dhruvi. Last name Vyas, V-Y-A-S.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, Ms. Vyas, as I mentioned, you're gonna be the operator here on site of the child daycare center.
Yes.
About how many kids are you looking to take in with this center?
18,
All right. What are your hours of operation gonna be?
7:30 to 6 p.m.
Okay, and when will the kids be with you?
Around 7:45, 8 o'clock.
All right. All right, is it gonna be just yourself, or are you gonna have a helper?
No, we're gonna have helper.
Okay. Now, describe for me how the kids come in the morning.
Okay, so we're gonna have helper, and when the parents call, okay, we'll be there in 2 minutes. So by that time, my helper, she will go by the door, with iPad,
And receive them? make
yeah,
note?
with the sign with the parents and get the kids inside.
Do you have some kind of schedule where they're coming in, so everyone doesn't kind of lump together?
It's not like the between 7:30 to 9:30 or like that.
All right. They'll pull up in the parking spaces provided in the front,
Yes.
and then they'll walk in with their kids,
Yeah.
and you'll acknowledge them with that iPad
I
procedure.
yeah. It is.
And then they're under your charge, right?
Yes, sir.
Now, where are they going to be operating in the building? Where are you going to have the kids in the building?
It's the main door.
Right. And are they going to be having their programs in that front area?
Yes.
So it's all going to be inside?
Inside. Yeah. Inside. Fully.
Are you going to allow any outside play in the backyard?
I'm sorry.
Are they going to be able to play in the backyard?
Yes. It
Okay.
depends on the weather
Okay, but under supervision?
and the.
Can you speak into the microphone?
Yeah, you
Yeah,
can have.
Speak a little louder, thank you.
Are you going to be cooking or anything on site?
No.
Is food going to be brought in?
Yes. Catering.
Are you going to have it catered?
Yes.
And you're going to clean up and dispose of the trash how?
Yes.
The trash cans in the back?
Yes.
I have no further questions for this one.
Members of the board have questions of this witness on this testimony.
What age ranges are you gonna have in the center?
2.5 to 5 years old.
Okay, so preschool, toddler, right?
Yes,
Or not
preschool.
toddler, but, yeah, preschool. Okay.
Other members of the board have questions? Okay, I'm assuming this is all gonna meet the state licensing requirements and inspections and all the things that are required to run such a service.
Yes.
Any other? Andrew, do you have any questions?
No, I guess my only question would be, based on the, I don't know if it's 18 children and the times that they'd be coming, you have 2 parking spaces up front for pickup and drop-off, and there is some available off-street, or on-street parking, rather. Knowing the neighborhood, knowing the layout there, do you foresee any issues and conflicts with people not be able to find a place to park to drop their children off?
No, I don't think so.
Well, we do have a traffic expert who can
Oh, okay.
speak to that.
All right, thank you.
All right, are there any members of the public who have questions of this witness on this testimony at this time? Hearing and seeing none. Counselor, I guess we move on to your next witness.
Yes, which is my traffic expert, Lou. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you.
Okay, please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Please state your name, spell your last name, and provide your address for the record.
It's Louis, L-O-U-I-S, Lugio, it's L-U-G-L-I-O, 160 Hillcrest Avenue, Leonia, New Jersey.
Mr. Luzio, can you give the board, please, the benefit of your experience?
Sure. I have a bachelor's degree in civil engineering from New Jersey Institute of Technology, a master's in transportation planning, also from NJIT. I am a professional engineer in the state of New Jersey. For other states, I have been practicing transportation planning and traffic engineering for the past 36 years. I have served as an expert witness for NJDOT and a few counties within New Jersey, and I have both reviewed and represented applicants at many planning and zoning boards throughout the state.
You ever been to Parsippany before?
I think it's been a really long time.
All right, well, I will submit him as an expert for traffic issues this evening.
Any questions on the engineer's qualifications?
You did renew your license, correct?
My license is in good standing. By April 30th, that had to be done. I was way ahead of that.
Okay.
I took an ethics course also with very good instructor.
Counselor?
Thank you, Mr. Luglio, I'm sorry.
I'm good with that.
No, my Italian mother's gonna crack me in the head if I don't get it right, so, you heard the last question, and why don't we jump right to that?
Yeah.
About the drop-offs and how that's gonna work.
So as far as the drop-off is concerned, we have 2 parking spaces that are going to be dedicated for the pickup and drop-off activity. One that's an ADA space that could be used for pickup and drop-off, or if someone was coming to the building with an ADA certification. There are 2 other parking spaces along the building that would be for the employees. So with 18 children, we're looking at, even at a maximum of 5 minutes per child, to basically park the car, get the child out, scan them in, or basically bring them into the lobby and the front door, and back to the car. Industry average is anywhere from 2 to 5 minutes. With this type of operation and the close proximity, this is not a large childcare center. 5 minutes is probably overly conservative, but in any event, if we did that over the course of the peak hour, that's 60 minutes, we would be able to process 24 vehicles. With that assumption, 18 students or 18 children are there every day. We also know from studies and industry standards that you're going to have, some siblings that may be in the same vehicle, and you also have some that are out sick that day. So we're being conservative and assuming that all 18 are there. So the 2 parking spaces that we have in front should be able to certainly accommodate all the pickup and drop-off activity in the morning. And you're correct, there are some on-street parking spaces. We actually did a survey of those parking spaces, and some were vacant, or basically 11 that were vacant in the AM time period where people could utilize that. But we don't think it's necessary based on, again, the low volume of children that we would have coming here.
One of the other issues brought up is the size of the spaces themselves. The spaces actually overhang into the street right away.
Right. Normally, the industry standard is a 9-foot by 18-foot requirement. What we basically have here to the right-of-way is a 9-foot by 17, almost 18 feet. So we're very close. I would consider that a de minimis exception, basically, because we're very close to that.
It's also common in the neighborhood, isn't it?
Yes, that is true as well, along, driveways that are coming in that angle with the drop curb that's in the front. From a number of parking spaces, I know that there's a calculation on the site plan that's based on the 18 children that would be there. And if we utilize the 18, it's 1 parking space for every 6 children. So that would be 3 parking spaces, and then 1 parking space for each employee for the maximum shift. We have 2. So we would have 5 parking spaces. We're actually providing for 5 parking spaces on the site. We basically have 2, again, on the side of the building, and 3 in front if you include the ADA space. And we are providing at least 1 ADA space, and that space would be van accessible, and that's the minimum requirement that we would have to provide for this level of activity and this number of parking spaces that we would have on site. From a delivery standpoint, that would occur in the morning hours, but after the peak hour in the morning, basically to deliver whatever lunchtime or snacks that would be coming in. Even if that delivery occurred once a day, and it might not be once a day, it might be once every other day to store, depending on what the food and the lunch is that day. But we certainly see that as occurring during the non-pickup and drop-off time periods, other delivery as mail and FedEx and UPS and things like that. That would most likely be, as in all the other developments along the roadway, most likely a park along the road, deliver the package and back to the truck. I think that's it from my perspective on
Great,
traffic.
thank you, Mr.
Lugio.
Should be in a lot of trouble at home.
I won't
I
tell
have no
you.
further questions.
The members of the board who have questions on this testimony at this time. Mr. Matt.
Just a couple of questions on the parking.
Yep.
So I see that the parking spaces as proposed, you have to back into the street right away to access them. I understand it's a pre-existing condition, correct?
Yes, that is a pre-existing condition.
All right. Yeah, what was the use that was there most recently? I know it's a commercial building on the property.
I do not know, hold on, I'd be able to tell you that. It's a commercial building, we didn't go into detail in the report and what it was, but it had 4 parking spaces associated with it. So basically, those parking spaces were all along the front, and it did not include an ADA space. So that's why the 4 parking spaces could fit in the front.
Okay,
Advised that that was a office of a limousine.
oh, okay. So they were good at parking, I guess. There's, like, on the building, on the site plan, there's like a little notch in the building. What is that? Is that gonna be a problem for getting in and out of those back spots? Maybe that's a question for the site engineer.
Maybe. I don't anticipate that being an issue on the north side of the building for the 2 parking spaces that we would have for employees. I think the parking would be accommodated before that notch, unless you're talking about the notch on the south side, then I'll leave that to the site engineer.
The building has a little corner part that seems to stick
Yeah.
out. I mean, because it struck me that there seems to be room behind space number 3 for load, like extra width for loading, as long as you can get past that part of the building.
We'll save that for
Yeah.
Sure.
Same with the site engineer, thank you.
Other members of the board have any questions?
I have a question for the previous witness that just something jogged my memory.
All right,
Well,
certified.
ask the question, I guess, and the attorney will.
Just, this is a general question because I've actually, experienced it at another daycare, I'm not gonna name names, in Parsippany. Will the parents actually have access to the building? Are you gonna have some type of security access control, like cards to get, swipe to get into the building for employees?
Well, the door is locked. isn't it?
Yeah, the door is locked.
But is there any intent to actually hand out key fob cards to the parents? There is. I actually, that's a little bit these days troubling in my mind. If you go to any public school in Parsippany, I don't care who you are as a parent, you can't go into the building. And I've heard it multiple times at many daycares in Parsippany that they hand out key fobs to parents and they can go and access the building, right? And personally experiencing a significant incident on a corporate HQ in Palo Alto, California, where somebody was stabbed, 3 feet away from me. I kind of look at those things and take them, to heart. And when I was handed a key fob and it's just like, oh, go in and get your kid, I actually found that extremely concerning because there's not one public school in this town that I can go into if my kid's in there and walk into that school and go get my kid. You cannot do it. And I definitely take issue with that.
I don't think she was clear on the question. I want to highlight something that she
Sure.
said. when she's receiving the children, she's marking the children as being present, and at the end of the day, when the parents come in, she has to obviously check them out. So there's not going to be key fob access. The door's always going to be locked. The building really isn't that big.
Yeah.
And, there'll be-
So you're doing that transfer at the door, here's your child.
You're going to walk in. into
The parent
door,
is walking
and they
into the
have to
building?
Check the child out, because obviously with this age child,
Yep.
you don't want people randomly accessing.
So there's some sort of vestibule or, that they walk into and is separated from the rest of the center, is that?
Well, I don't know, we're not really talking about a locked vestibule or.
No, just that
It's just kind of.
just for like like a security step,
At that,
a desk, right?
so you'd have to get past somebody to get the kid. The younger children are gonna be more towards the back.
But I guess just explain, so I'm a parent, I'm coming to pick up my child, I'm entering the building,
You go right to that desk,
so that door, that outer door is unlocked? Or
all locked.
it's locked, but the parent's gonna have card access to swipe to get into the building?
As I say, before they come, they always text or call us, okay, we'll be there in 2 minutes. When we see the parents, okay, then we open the door or.
Okay. So they're not getting any
They don't.
card access or anything?
No.
Okay. Okay.
You can't just walk up at 2 o'clock, swipe the card. You go,
But there's daycares in Parsippany that do that.
really?
So they have to call ahead to meet you at the door.
They still do it.
Yes.
And no random access. Because key fobs get lost, key fobs.
Chain of custody.
Change
Yeah,
possession.
you can have a parent do something bizarre on a Friday and then not know on a Monday if that parent should actually be picking that kid up.
Especially given the age.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we're still on the traffic engineer, I guess. Is there any other?
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we were talking to Mr. Lulu about, I thought we were
Right,
pretty much.
any other members of the board have questions of the traffic engineer at this time? Now, in setting up your study, is it your understanding that the front 3 spaces will only be used for drop-off and pickup during business hours?
That is correct.
Okay, so that there'll be no employee parking in the front, there'll be no parking for the person going into the store next door or anything like that? There should be some signage, I assume, that would basically outline that in some way.
We could have 5-minute parking for those spaces that are out in the front.
Okay, and then something also making it clear that you can't park there for 5 minutes and go across the street and get something.
Yes, I mean, we can have that it's parking, it's drop off and pick up only for this address. Sure.
That would be, I think, important, given the limited resources.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, no other questions from members of the board? Are there any members of the public who have questions on this witness and this testimony at this time? Hearing and seeing none. Counselor?
Okay, you got the front.
Can you please raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
And please state your name, spell your last name, and provide your address for the record.
Frank Matarazzo, Matarazzo, 575 Route 46, Fairfield, New Jersey.
Mr. Matarazzo, you've been before this board more than a few times, is that true?
Correct.
So I'd ask the chairman if he feels he needs the qualifications, Mr. Matarazzo, again, for the new members, maybe?
I'd like you to put on record, he's testifying as,
Both an engineer, and he's going to help me out with some planning testimony.
okay, that was not clear to me, but now it is. Are there any questions on the qualifications of this individual at this time? I have. Listen, Mr. Matt.
Did you remember to renew your license? Okay, thank you.
Mr. Meth, is there perhaps a problem in your house with the
No, it's just that April 30th is, on every even year, is the date that every engineer has to renew in New Jersey.
I get till May.
May
So,
31st.
Mr. Matarazzo,
All right,
why don't we
I
go through the application?
had Mr. Matarazzo appear before me numerous times and he's always been wise and smart.
He gets even smarter with it.
Yeah.
Frank, you wanna walk us through it a little bit?
Sure. So the site's located on the easterly side of Kingston Road, just 3 lots north of Hamburg Road. It's located in the B4 zoning district. It has single-family uses on either side of the property as well as to the rear. There's commercial uses located across the street. The site contains a 1-story frame and stucco commercial building formerly used as a limousine office, an office for a limousine company. The site is currently developed with parking located in the front of the property. The applicant proposes to construct an approximately a 5-foot wide addition to be located on the southerly side of the existing building. The use will be occupied as a child care center. We're going to restrike the existing parking area that's located in the front of the building. There'll be 2 tandem parking spaces located on the northerly side of the building. That's again on existing pavement. Those 2 parking spaces will be designated for employee parking. There's 3 parking spaces proposed in the front, 2 parking spaces, 2 standard parking spaces, plus a handicap parking space. We're proposing a trash enclosure to be located in the right front side of the proposed building addition. There's an existing concrete area located in the rear yard that will be removed, and the entire rear yard will be replaced with a permeable synthetic clay surface. We're proposing new fencing along the rear of the building, located from the back corners of the building to the side property lines where there's existing fences currently. The southerly side of the property will have a new row of arborvitaes for landscaping. We're also proposing a new building-mounted light fixture on the front of the building.
Now, the only variances we're generating here are pre-existing variances, except for that replacement of the fence, because that's gonna be a new fence.
Correct.
And since we are expanding the building itself with the addition, we're still under the building coverage that we would need, the minimum building coverage, right?
Right. As part of this application, there's no new variances proposed. The site is currently undersized with respect to lot area for the B4 zone. 8,000 square feet is a minimum requirement for a lot area, and the existing lot is currently 4,000 square feet, so basically half the required lot area. Similarly with the lot width, minimum lot width of 80 feet is required for the B4 zone. Currently, the property has a lot width of 40 feet. With that, there's an existing front yard nonconformity. 35 feet is required, and an existing of 16.8 feet exists for a front yard. The other bulk requirements, we are currently under, or we conform with, rear yard, building coverage, impervious coverage. We do not conform to the minimum gross floor area. Currently, we have 852 square feet of gross floor area, where a minimum requirement of 2,500.
Can you speak into the microphone?
The minimum of 2,500 is required. With the proposed new addition, we will be increasing that minimum gross floor area up to 1,133 square feet. Again, approximately half of what would be the minimum allowable, and that's all related to the lot size being about half of what's required, as well as the lot width of about half of what's required.
Now, obviously, these conditions, while pre-existing non-conformances, are something the board needs to kind of look at again, especially regarding the setback of the fence, which we're proposing to be 0. Because the discussion amongst the professionals was, even with a 6-inch setback, we would expect to be fishing a kid out of there eventually, and we just wanted to eliminate that possibility. But given the nature of this site, the undersized nature of the site, and positioning of the building, there really is these variances that we're talking about. There's no way to cure those and still utilize the site, is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so some of the variances that we're requesting, section 430-275, A, paragraph 2, all spaces shall connect to an on-site driveway. In this case, the parking spaces connect to the existing roadway via a 40-foot-long drop curb. There's no way to install an on-site driveway, given the location of the building in relation to the street right-of-way line
And the property size.
and the property size. With respect to section 430-275G, each off-street parking stall shall be connected to a public street right-of-way by means of a driveway. Again, that's relates back to the same comment. There is currently no dedicated driveway per se. This is, basically, we have a 40-foot long wide driveway. Section 430-275H, the driveway shall not be less than 12 feet nor more than 24 feet in width within the street right-of-way, providing access. Again, all three of these variances are lumped together. It's an existing condition with respect to the size of the property, the size of the lot width, the existing drop curb, and the location of the existing building.
So, with regard to these variances, put on your planner's hat for a moment. Given the standards for both C1 and C2 variances,
Yes.
do you feel that this is something that could be approved by the board?
Yes. As I said, this site is currently undersized with respect to the zoning. There are several existing nonconformities present. With respect to the C1 criteria, I believe that the variances can be, the variances being sought can be granted pursuant to a C1 criteria of the MLUL, specifically C1 paragraph C, by reason of an extraordinary situation uniquely affecting a piece of property or the structures lawfully existing thereon, would result in peculiar or exceptional practical difficulties and hardship upon the developer of such property. The building is lawfully existing. It was previously utilized as a commercial use, as an office, and we're basically replacing one commercial use with another commercial use. With respect to a C2 criteria, granting of a variance would advance the purposes of the MLUL, and benefits of granting the variances would substantially outweigh any detriments. The purposes of the act being advanced are paragraph I, to promote a desirable visual environment. The overall improvements to the structure and property represent a substantial improvement of the premises, creating a desirable visual environment. Paragraph E, creating a newly remodeled building would serve the purposes of creating appropriate location for commercial uses. Child care is a permitted use by local and state regulations. With respect to the benefits or the positive criteria, By permitting the variances, the structure will be improved, enhancing the overall appearance and functionality of the building to be used as a child care facility. Child care facilities are permitted by state regulations, also under the MLUL, Section 40:55D, 66.6. Child care facilities should be treated as an inherently beneficial use. With respect to negative criteria, the granting of the requested variances, there will be no substantial detriment to the zone plan nor the surrounding properties. And in my opinion, the benefits of granting these variances substantially outweigh any negative impacts.
And also, just one more question, Mr. Mazzarotto. A lot of these variances that we were talking about, which in some towns are actually design waivers concerning layout of parking spaces with driveways, size of parking spaces, are designed for larger office building developments.
That's correct.
Elements you'd see. And actually, the state statute you mentioned, 4055D 66.6, also is thinking of those larger buildings where it's specifically saying not to count the density or floor space of the child care center against parking or any density regulations. That's more targeted for those larger buildings too.
That's correct.
So while Parsippany addresses child care centers like this by counting students, the admonition of the state really is to try to allow these wherever you can allow them, especially in commercial zones.
Correct.
I have no further questions.
Members of the board have questions? Michael?
The building addition that's going to take place, how long will that construction be? What kind of a date is estimated for opening?
Do you know when that's going to open?
No, if I may just have one moment to consult with you. Being advised that it's going to be about a 6 months construction period from the initial opening of the building to its grand opening in its new configuration.
Does that mean it's going to be in operation before the construction is finished?
No.
So then, the building wouldn't be in operation for 6 months?
It's 6 months construction, yes.
Yeah.
The layout of the building, while I didn't call the architect as he wanted to address, it's really just kind of that one big area. There's no way to separate, especially the taking in of the children, to allow for a partial operation. It's really, all has to be done to operate.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Meth?
Yeah, hi. Mr. Mazzarotto, the two tandem employee spaces, I don't see any lighting for them. You have lighting for the front, correct?
Correct.
And you don't have lighting for the employee spaces?
No, we didn't propose any.
We're concerned about the proximity of the neighborhood.
Understood. I just that, I do expect people will be accessing those cars in the dark. And, I mean, if you do a wall mount, you can do a cutoff, right?
A wall mounted would be facing north, which is be facing the adjacent property. You'd have to do a very low mounting height.
Okay.
In order for it not to affect the adjoining property.
All right, I'll leave it alone for a second. How far off is space number 3 from the edge of the property line?
I would say about a foot or so.
A foot? I mean, it looks like 4 feet to me.
Number 3?
Space number 3, yeah, from the northern property line. Right here. Okay, I mean, don't we require parking spaces to be 5 feet off the property line?
Yeah, then you need a variance for that.
That's another variance, okay.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah, it's pre-existing condition.
understood. So, I was taking another look at that little corner I was talking to with Mr. Lugio. It looks to me like it's just like a pillar support, and I don't see it on the architectural plans. As a matter of fact, I see the architectural plans still have the fence there, which you're calling out to be removed, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, it just struck me that as long as you're already more than, like, closer than 5 feet to the property line, why not just make space number 3 a third in tandem sequence to give it more depth?
We could certainly do that.
Sure.
And doesn't the ADA space have to be van accessible if it's the first one on the site? Meaning
I
8-foot
believe it
hatch
is van
there?
accessible, isn't it?
I thought it was strong enough.
Yes, it's.
On the plan I'm looking at, it's an 8-foot space with a 5-foot access aisle. Is,
No. It's an 8-foot access aisle.
then I guess I don't have the latest plans.
Yeah, could we mark this plan as Exhibit A1 and provide the date, because that's a colorized version and we don't have that in our packet.
Because the plan I have is dated 3/3/2023. Oh, no, there's a, sorry, August 29th, 2023.
Well, December 20th. Is updated.
December 20th.
Oh, that's why you're 1 foot off, and I thought you were 4. Okay. You widened it. I got it.
And the comment is revised per handicap parking.
Never mind. All right, thank you.
Other members of the board have questions of this witness at this time? I just want to get, you've not presented any interior plans.
If the board wishes to see the interior plan, my architect has indicated twice to me tonight he is ready to provide the testimony.
I think I would like to see interior plans because I would like to see that there is some sort of either airlock or vestibule or at least a railing to prevent little kids from running out into the street from an open door when they see mommy and their puppy in the background. All right, I want to see something that separates where the children are from where the door is. Now, whether that's a full room, a foyer, or a vestibule, or whether that's just a pony wall type of situation, I'd like to see something like that so that there is at least some sort of separation from the front door.
Okay, in that case, we will go over the architecture.
Before we go to the architect, just a question about the sign. The existing pylon sign is proposed to remain,
Yes,
and it's going to be refaced.
correct.
Is there any additional wall signs proposed, or should we direct that to the architect also?
We'll direct that to the architect to
Okay.
confirm whether or not there'll be something painted in the front door window,
All right.
which there might be.
Mr. Dinsmore, I have a question for the engineer, just on the lawn area. You commented or testified that the concrete surface in the rear yard is going to be removed and a permeable clay surface, synthetic permeable clay surface will be installed.
Correct.
Okay. Just, the plan doesn't call that out and show that for clarity. Please revise the plan to show the limits of the synthetic play area and then the detail.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay.
Any other members? Okay. Please,
Here we go.
if you have something to present on an,
Yeah.
that in our packet?
If you please raise your right hand, do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? And please state your name, spell your last name, and provide your address for the record.
Hi, good evening. My name is Avart Patel, Aavart Patel, 2 Brandywine Court, Randolph, New Jersey.
Mr. Patel, have you appeared before this board?
Yes, I have.
Your license in good standing?
Yes, it is till 2025.
Yeah, I don't know when architects renew, by the way, just.
So, if the chairman would like me to provide some further background for Mr. Patel, otherwise I'd offer him as an expert for architectural purposes.
Okay, I'm sorry, I was looking at the part of the package that I didn't have.
We are submitting Mr. Patel as an expert for architectural purposes. He's testified before this board before.
Okay.
Mr. Patel, why don't you walk us through the layout of the new building?
Sure. Does everyone have the floor plans in front of them, or should I go up there and walk you through?
It was submitted as part of the packet.
Can I just double check the date, just in case?
Yes, it's a couple of years old.
Is it July 27th, 2022? Okay.
So I'm going to go through the floor plans quickly. As you can see, we have notched out the front of the building a little bit to create, recessed entryway. And right after the entryway, there's a foyer proposed. During the check-in, the person will be standing there.
Do you mind just doing it up there and just carrying
Sure.
the microphone?
Take this microphone.
Hello? All right. So this is the front of the building. We have notched the entry area a little bit just to create a covered entryway, providing protection during the bad weather and, a little more privacy. Right after the entry is the foyer. As you can see, we have 2 doors, so the foyer is basically separate from the rest of the facility. The intent was for this foyer to have a little security so no one can just open the door and walk out. As the owner testified that the front door would be locked and it would be opened by someone who is authorized to open the door. And once the kids come in, there are 3 activity rooms proposed, and those are based on the age group. The walls in between those areas are low walls, still providing privacy and separation. The room at the front is for very young and small kids. The layout, the furniture layout is not there yet, but that would be for young kids who would have some bassinets and some sort of roll-out beds. The second activity room is for little older kids, and same for the third one. And all 3 activity rooms have the doors coming out to the side. And the idea was that they will have a different playtimes, and they could each group could be taken out to the playground and brought back in without going to the other activity areas. Towards the back or the third activity room, we have a supply closet and a pantry proposed. So if kids are bringing food from home or they're using the catering service, it's just the warmer station with a refrigerator there. And towards the back of the building, we have 2 bathrooms and 1 office for the administrator. The office has the access to the backyard directly through the back door, and one of the toilet has access to the back door as well. So if kids are playing in the activity area, they can easily access the bathroom. Overall, front of the building, we are kind of keeping most of the structure as is. Yeah, the walls you see on the left side of the building, the front and the back will remain as is. We are extending on the right side of the building, and then the roof will be rebuilt. Elevation-wise, we'll have a little stone wainscot, masonry type material, and then the rest of the building would be siding material. I'm showing the fence, which was there before. We are removing it and moving the fence towards the back, so the cars could be parked at the side of the building. And then the back area would be fenced off, so no one can just walk out to the street, especially the young kids. That's pretty much that for the floor plan.
Thank you, Mr. Patel.
Questions? Gordon?
Did I hear you testify that the children are going to leave out of the side doors from the activity areas to go to the play area?
Yes, they will be escorted, someone would be walking them.
That's where the employees, the 2 parking spaces for employees are, correct? And then there's the fence that they'd have to get through?
Correct.
To the play area?
Correct. There's a 11-foot side yard there, so there would be enough room for them to just walk out in a row.
Depending on how well people parked.
I thought the plan was to go through the office to the play area.
That is possible too.
That would be, I think, wiser.
All right.
Sure.
Are any of those side doors, egress doors required for egress?
Not really, because the occupant load is not that high, where it would trigger the second means of egress. But, we can actually close out the other doors, except the one on the doors at the front, which does provide a second means in case of emergency.
Being that there's parking there, you have 11 feet from the property line, I would suggest adding a bollard as not to have a vehicle inadvertently block the opening of the door.
Understood. We can incorporate that. Yep.
And is that a 36-inch wide door?
That is correct.
May not get your 9 feet of, it's 11 feet, you got a 36-inch wide door. You got 8 feet remaining for parking.
We can recess it in a little bit, so, when you open it, it still gives you the full 36 inch.
That would be a very good idea, to recess that door, not to block and impede that parking space.
Absolutely.
Parking there.
Absolutely.
Would it be better to just turn that into a fire door?
And just, you only got 11 feet there, you got a car
still
park,
gotta-
and you got a door that needs
The
to swing
clearance.
open. That's why I'm bringing it up.
Understood.
And correct me if I'm wrong, there's going to be 18 children?
Yes.
And how many employees?
2.
2. So if the front room is for the younger kids?
Yes.
So if the younger kids need to use the bathroom, if there's only 2 employees there? Like if they have to walk them to the back towards the bathroom?
That is correct, yes. They have to go towards the back of the building to use the bathroom.
So then who's covering the front room?
I guess there are 2 employees, so one would be taking the kids, the other one would be covering. These walls are not all height walls. They are low partitions, so, if a person is standing here, they should be able to see the entire space. And this is not a very long or deep building. If you stand here, you can easily look at all 3 spaces at once.
Yeah, I have 3 kids and they seem to lose them all the time, so.
Other questions of this testimony? What is the protection of that front room from cars where somebody accidentally steps on the accelerator rather than the brake? Is there, wheel stops, bollards, what Because you've got parking right in front there, and then you've got a building where,
We could provide wheel stops if the board.
There is, on one of the spot, there is a wheel stop shown. Yeah, actually, we will have to, I mean, there's one over here, but we'll need to
That's
add
the
one.
existing plan, not the proposed.
Correct, so we'll have to add two, towards the two parking spots, the front of the building.
We'll add the wheel stops in each of the spots.
okay, that's the plan then.
I just have a comment on that. I don't like the idea of the kids coming out to walk to the back. I would prefer to see them walk internally in the building and go out the back door in the back. And have those three doors for emergency exit only.
Yes, we'll agree to that.
Yeah, we'll make an appropriate notation and update the plans.
We'll change the detail on the door that it remains locked, except for emergency.
Emergencies
situation.
only.
Right,
And the kids will ingress and egress
in the
through the
back,
control back door.
the back door.
Yep.
That makes more sense.
And the door is going to be recessed, not to conflict with the parking stall?
We'll make sure that there is enough walking width
So
or
you'll have to
aisle
revise
width.
the
Yes,
plan and
absolutely,
resubmit.
absolutely.
Is there any way to split those bathrooms out, like kind of one mid, or is that a pre-existing in the building?
So the bathrooms are pre-existing. We need to, I mean, we are rebuilding it completely, but.
That's where the extension is going.
But that's where the extension is on the side, but that's where the existing bathrooms are located.
So that's where the plumbing is.
Yeah, yes.
All right, other members of the board have questions on this? Do you have anything?
Gordon brought up my concern.
Okay. So we sort of jumped around a little bit here, and maybe we gave short shrift to Mr. Matarazzo's questions and the like. Is there any,
We're all here. If the board has any questions for any witness, we'll certainly entertain that.
are there any
Otherwise, our
members
testimony-
of the public who have questions of any of these witnesses at this time? Hearing and seeing none. Counselor?
I have no further witnesses. Rest of the case based upon the testimony provided.
All right, are there any members of the public who wish to speak in opposition to this case at this time? In favor of this case at this time? Hearing and seeing none, this closes the evidentiary portion of tonight's hearing. Any discussion or motion?
Mr. Chairman, with respect to application number 22:532, 180 Kingston Road LLC, 180 Kingston Road, Block 244, Lot 9, minor site plan with C variance for construction of an addition. I move to approve that application.
And what are all of our,
Well, I was going to add at least one on the emergency doors only by the side.
I have that, signage will be installed at the front indicating 5-minute parking for daycare center only.
does that sign imply an extra variance?
This should
It's
be directional signs
It'll
under,
match
Yeah,
the
match
borough
the
town
ordinance.
code.
Okay, just,
We did not touch on, are there any building signs proposed?
Oh, any sign in the window, Mr. Patel? A conforming sign?
It'll be conforming with the ordinance?
Yeah.
That is correct.
Okay.
That's good.
okay.
The other that I had conforming sign will add synthetic play area to plans with detail. The bollards will be incorporated and the doors along the side of the building will be recessed to avoid interference with the parking area. Those will be labeled as emergency access only and will change the detail. Wheel stops will be added to the front and the exit to the rear will be used for child access to the play area. I think that was everything.
Do we want to confirm that there'll be no key fobs or electronic keys for parents to access the building, just Does everybody understand?
I'll make sure, a note in the resolution.
I think we also gotta specify the wheel stops are for spaces 1 and 2 only, because if we put it in front of space 3, you won't be able to get to the back 2.
Well, technically, they're labeled 4, 5,
Oh, they changed the numbering too? Oh.
4 and 5, no,
In front of the building.
in front of the building.
And that third space that is in the front is gonna be a tandem space. That was also discussed.
Well, then we're 4 and 5, you're right, sir. Well, that's my motion.
Do I have a second? Thank you. Nora, would you call the roll, please?
DePiero,
Yes.
McGrath,
Yes.
Math,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Stanzio,
Yes.
Dinsmore.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great night.
Thank you very much.
Is there a desire or a motion for a 5-minute break? Or should we just move on?
I'm still okay. I'm probably the oldest one here.
Okay. Then we're moving on. So the next thing we're going to do is call case 23-535, Floor and Decor, 1123 Route 46, Block 729, Lot 7, minor site plan with C variance for site changes and improvements.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Howard Jenislaw from the law firm Gibbons PC, representing Floor and Decor Outlets of America. Let's see, I can give you a general overview. I know we did have some waivers. Would you prefer to address those?
I'm pulling them up.
First?
So go ahead. There's no little tablets left. Here we go. So if you want to go over the waivers, we have one for the floor plans of existing proposed buildings. They've been provided. The waiver would be for the scale. Existing proposed storm drainage as an existing building. We don't have any objection to that. And that, again, with the floor plan and the scale. So that was easy.
Exactly. There were really only two for floor plans from the two different checklists.
Right.
And then as to stormwater. Floor plans, at the required scale, the building is so large that it won't fit on one sheet. And, as to the storm drainage, there are no changes to those conditions.
Any questions on the waivers? Hearing and seeing none, do I have a motion to approve the waivers outlined in the ARH memo of April 15th, 2024?
I'll move it.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you. By way of a brief overview, Floor and Decor, if you're not familiar with them, is a leading specialty retailer of hard surface flooring. They offer a broad selection of tile, wood, stone, related tools, and flooring accessories. They operate over 200 stores nationwide, as well as several design studios throughout major markets across the country. They currently have about 9 stores in New Jersey. The closest ones to here that you might be familiar with are Wayne and probably Springfield. Springfield just opened within the last year. So Floor and Decor proposes to occupy 60,000 square feet in the Troy Hill Shopping Center. This is the space that was formerly occupied by the gym. Most recently, it was Esportive Fitness was the operator of that space. And there are no changes to the existing building footprint. There is no change to the amount of impervious cover, to landscaping. It's really just re-tenanting the existing space and then some very minor improvements on the exterior, which our engineer will run through when he gives his testimony. By way of some operational information, we did outline that in our written submission. Just to highlight some key items, hours of operation are typically 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. on Saturday, and 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. on Sunday. Those hours, of course, can change based on business demands, but those are the current operating hours. In terms of the number of employees on the site, generally, it's on weekdays, 30 to 40 employees, a higher number in the daytime, and then a lower number in the evening. On weekends, it's generally between 40 and 50 employees that are on the site. Deliveries are done during the overnight hours so as not to interfere with customers who are in the store. Typically, there are 5 to 8 truck deliveries, and that's 5 days a week, and they're generally staggered about one every 2 hours. In terms of the approvals that we're seeking, this is an application for minor site plan approval. There are also a number of sign variances that we will describe in detail when we go through our testimony. And in terms of our testimony, I'm anticipating calling 2 witnesses, a civil engineer and a professional planner. There's also a representative from Floor & Decor here if there are any specific questions, but I was not intending to call a company witness unless there's a specific question. So that is my overview. I'd be happy to answer any questions, and if not, then I would proceed to call the first witness.
Well, I must admit to having patronized your store in Boynton Beach, Florida, and I was amazed.
Well, good. We're glad you had a good experience.
It was very nice. So,
Thank you.
all right, any other questions? No? Please present your case.
All right, Zach, come on up. First witness will be our civil engineer.
Raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state your name, spell your last name, and provide your address.
Sure. My name is Zachary Chaplin, last name Chaplin, with the firm Stonefield Engineering and Design, with offices located at 92 Park Avenue in Rutherford, New Jersey.
Could you present your qualifications to the board, please?
Sure. I received my bachelor's degree in civil engineering from the University of Delaware. I'm a licensed professional engineer in the states of New Jersey, New York, and Connecticut. Been accepted as an expert witness by multiple boards throughout the state, including this board a couple months ago.
And is your license current?
Yes, my license is in good standing.
Beat you to it, Gordon. Very well. I offer Mr. Chaplin as an expert in civil engineering.
Any questions on the applicant's qualifications? Hearing and seeing none.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chaplin, please put up your exhibits and walk the board through the proposal that's before them tonight.
Sure. I'm just going to jump right into just a very quick overview of the site. I'm going to just mark this exhibit as A1. Just for the record, it's entitled Aerial Exhibit, prepared by Stonefield Engineering and Design, dated May 1st, 2024. And really, this is just a Google Earth overview of the shopping center. The site is located in between Interstate 80 and Route 46, and it's at the southwest corner of Beaverwick Road. The site itself is quite large. The portion of the site that Floor & Decor is looking to tenant, as Howard mentioned, is the old East Sport of Fitness facility. So that's at the southwest corner of the site. Access to the site is solely provided via the curb cuts on 46, as well as a curb cut on Beaverwick Road. We're really looking at, again, the southwest corner here for the new Floor & Decor space, approximately 60,000 square feet. Site is generally flat in nature. We will be, again, utilizing the parking at the front of the site and then the back area of the site for loading and also customer pickup. I'm going to jump right into the site plan. So, as Howard mentioned, there's really some minor site improvements that we're doing. First of all, we're going to be restriping the parking area right in front of the store. We're going to be relocating the ADA spaces so that they're closer to the main entrance. We are going to be just milling and overlaying the pavement that's specifically by the ADA spaces. So that'll get a refreshed pavement right where we're doing those ADA spaces. In terms of the rear, and this is really more specific to Floor & Decor, they have a customer pickup area, a CPU, and essentially what that is an area to pick up product after you purchase it. So there's actually an area in the back that we're proposing a small area of new concrete, and this area is for, larger type vehicles to come in, to back in, and then the staff will help, load up larger type trucks with product in the back of the site. So that's specific for the floor and decor that we're putting here. There's also a 2-foot canopy that we're adding at the door next to this pickup area. And then just to clarify that's, while there's no changes to the exterior footprint, that doesn't trigger any building coverage addition since we're within the 2-foot limit.
While you're on the CPU, mention how the I'm here spaces work, if you would.
Just about to get there. In addition to that, there's also a couple of spaces beyond that called the I'm here spaces that we're providing signage for. And again, this is just extra parking for more passenger-related vehicles who might have a smaller pickup that they're going to the store for. They'll park in those spaces and be able to get their product at the back of the store. This just helps operationally with the store to not have product going in and out in the front entrance, where it's more welcoming for customers to utilize. We are proposing a couple other improvements to the rear of the site. So we are proposing a propane cabinet, and that's really for internal use for the equipment of Floor & Decor. It is not propane for sale. I do want to note there was a comment in the engineer's review letter about potentially interfering with an electric meter. We will shift that and meet whatever code requirement there is necessary between the electric meter and that propane cabinet. From a stormwater standpoint, again, we're not having any sort of increase in impervious coverage. We are proposing 2 new roof leaders in the back of the site, one specific for the canopy. Those are going to tie into an existing stormwater line in the back of the site. And again, per one of the comments that the engineer have, we're willing to put in a clean out structure there so it's not a blind connection. We're also putting in the trash compactor. There's an existing loading area in the back. A part of that loading area, we're going to be putting in a trash compactor, and that just helps operationally to reduce the amount of trash in the back of the site. There's some new lighting proposed really along the rear of the building and one on the side. There were photometric plans submitted that show this and call out the fixture as well as the photometrics. All utilities are planning to be reutilized. We're not proposing any new utility services. And then lastly, there is signage proposed. There is essentially 3 building-mounted signage. So we have a Floor & Decor logo that's going to be at the front of at the store. And we have our planner here who will speak more about these signs. But there's one obviously at the main entrance. There's one at the back because we do have some slight visibility to Route 80 or Interstate 80. And then there's one for the customer pickup area to note that for the customers. And then, of course, the existing pylon sign, we're going to reface that sign as well. Overall, like I said, the site improvements are pretty minor in nature. They're really more specific to the Floor & Decor needs. And then, of course, just kind of improving the area similar to what Target did recently and just kind of revitalizing the area with the new tenant in that space. Any questions or anything else?
I think that covers our direct testimony, and I think we hit most of the items in the engineer's review letter. I'm just looking through quickly to see if there's anything else that we didn't cover yet.
I think there was one comment perhaps about the intermingling of passenger vehicles and trucks in the back, and it's a good comment in the letter. And the one thing I do want to point out is Floor & Decor deliveries are going to happen after hours, so it's not going to happen while the customers are there. We don't see that as being an issue. There's other Floor & Decor sites that are in operation that have a very, very similar setup with the parking in the back and obviously also loading. And again, like I mentioned, these customers, a lot of them are contractors with larger vehicles anyway. There aren't too many customers just coming in with like a regular passenger vehicle type car. So based on that experience and the fact that there's actually already parking spaces back there, we don't anticipate that being too much of a conflict.
I think there was a question about the number of overhangs proposed. I think on the original plans there were 2, and now there's only 1, correct?
Correct. There's just the one now that's 2 feet. And I think the last comment was adding a stop sign at the northwest corner of the building. We're happy to do that. I think there was a thought about maybe making it solar powered for flashing lights. I'm not sure we need it. I mean, in that area, I'm not sure how many pedestrians are walking to the west. Most of the parking is to the north, so we don't expect too many people to be making that crossing. I'm happy to add the stop sign, but, not sure
You occasionally get traffic from the Panera going to the exit
Around the back, you mean?
around the back.
Pedestrian traffic?
No cars.
Oh, yeah, I think the reason for the flashing stop sign here was specific for,
But for vehicles as well, coming around that turn.
Right.
Yeah. A vehicle coming out of the back may not, it doesn't have the visibility to look to the right to see a vehicle coming down the main aisle.
Well, you would agree to work with our engineer on making sure that it was comfortably safe for your patrons and the general public.
yes.
Certainly. Also, there was a comment in the engineer's report about the freestanding sign, and when we submitted our application, we didn't have the dimensions of the panel. It's simply swapping out the existing panel. I do have the dimensions if they're needed, but that's simply swapping out a panel on the existing sign, so there's no change to the size or to anything else relative to both of the freestanding signs, the one on 46 and the one on Beaverwick.
It's okay by you?
That's fine with me. Just replacing the LA Fitness sign with,
The Eastport sign, right? So, I think that covers everything in the engineering report, and that covers all the direct items, and I think the planning report will address when we get our planner.
Okay, any other questions of this witness? Gordon?
Yeah, just two. Are you proposing signs for the crosswalk? Crosswalk signs?
What kind of signs are you asking for?
Pedestrian crosswalk signs have basically a person walking with an arrow pointed down.
Yeah, we can add that.
Yeah, and I know the rest of the crosswalks have this, but it's not generally a good idea to have crosswalks marked behind a parking space. You basically putting a pedestrian behind a vehicle that could be backing. So I kind of prefer if you just cut it off at the island.
Got it, so shift the crosswalk so it's coming right off that island.
Well, more like just don't stripe it behind a parking space.
Okay, sure. Well, I think it's striped behind another striped island. I don't think it's directly, but,
Well, I'm just looking at the site plan, and it goes behind an ADA spot. So it's just it's generally frowned upon to not to have crosswalks marked directly behind parking spaces.
okay.
But I realize that several of the other spots in the center have that.
Other members
That's
of the board have questions of this witness? Our professionals have any?
just to clarify, you're restriping, you're not adding or subtracting any parking spots.
Correct.
Correct.
Okay. Members of the public have any questions of this witness on this testimony at this time? No? Counselor?
Okay, thank you. Mr. Chaplin, I'll call up our professional planner.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Please state your name and spell your last name and provide your address for the record.
Sure. Name is Thomas, last name is Ricci, R-I-C-C-I, business address, 92 Park Ave, Rutherford, New Jersey.
Could you please give the board the benefit of your qualifications?
Sure. I have a Bachelor of Arts degree from Rutgers University. I also have a master's degree in city and regional planning, also from Rutgers University. I am a licensed professional planner in the state of New Jersey. I'm nationally certified by the American Institute of Certified Planners. I have been accepted as an expert in the field of professional planning by well over 75 boards throughout the state. I haven't been before this board, but I've been before the zoning board. I did the Topgolf use variance application. All of my license and my certification are both active and in good standing. Now he's not paying attention.
Thank you, Mr.
Any
Ricci.
questions about this gentleman's qualifications? Hearing and seeing none, Gordon already got the answer to his real question.
And he is offered as an expert in professional planning. So, Mr. Ricci, we've talked about how there are several signage variances that are required as part of this application. So if I could ask you to review those with the board and describe what conclusions you reached as to whether those variances meet the statutory criteria.
Yeah, absolutely. And before I hop right into the variances, I just want to give a little planning introduction. Obviously, you've heard of the proposed use, Floor and Decor. It's a large-scale retailer. In this case, they're looking to reoccupy a large vacant retail space, which as a planner, I love because it does two things. You're essentially eliminating an existing vacancy in a commercial district, and it represents some environmentally friendliness to land development practices because they're repurposing an existing building, an existing infrastructure that already exists. So that's what we're proposing here. It's the former East Border building. I think before that was formerly an LA Fitness. It's property in the Troy Hills Shopping Center. It's space next to the Target. So as you've heard, the structure is going to be, it's going to remain, not be expanded, and re-tenanted with Floor and Decor. This is a permitted use in the zone. We're only seeking relief for some signage, which I will go over. I'd like to share an exhibit that we prepared that we did not submit. So we have Mark.
So we're up to A2.
Yeah. So we'll mark this exhibit A2. This is a signage comparison exhibit. It was prepared by our office, Stonefield Engineering, dated May 3rd, 2024. So the first variance that we're seeking, I want to focus on the front signage, is the maximum sign area of this front sign. The maximum permitted is 150 square feet, and what we're proposing is 186 approximately square feet. Now this sign is a prototypical standard of Floor and Decor. They have this sign at many of their other locations. I think what's important to note is I did a comparative exhibit on that former Esporta sign and the proposed signage, just to see how we stack up square footage wise. When you measure the two parts of that former sign together, you get about 205 square feet. And then once again, we're proposing that 186, so we're comparable to what was previously out there. We're actually a good deal smaller. But I think it's important to note, this is, although we're over, this is a big building, this is a big facade. Theoretically, if you took this 60,000 square foot tenant space and chopped it up into two units, you can put 150 square foot sign on each of those. And you can kind of keep going with that mentality until you have a bunch of signs. So there's nothing about, I think, the area that goes against what the ordinance is trying to prohibit. You can theoretically have more signs if you had more units here. I think, once again, it's in scale, it's proportionate to the building. It's obviously, it's a big facade. And sticking with that, we also are seeking relief for the maximum vertical dimension of the sign. 5 feet is permitted, 8 feet is proposed. Once again, I think I'm just going to echo the justification of having a sign that's in scale with this existing facade. Also, I think it's important to note that you have, the Floor and Decor logo. It's a stacked sign. Essentially, you wouldn't be able to fit the full lettering in a more linear pattern across, which is why they decided to go with the stacked part, and that's essentially why we trigger that vertical dimension requirement. Now I'm going to flip to the second sheet of this exhibit.
You want to mark that one first?
Yeah. Now, this is the second sheet of that same exhibit. Do we want to mark this as A3, or is the whole exhibit A2?
We'll just mark this as A3.
Okay. So A3 is a signage exhibit showing the height of the sign. So the maximum sign height is 25 feet, and that's what we see actually on this bottom front elevation. But as I mentioned, we're working within the constraints of an existing building. There's actually some glazing on the facade here, and then this horizontal, vertical band. It's a architectural element of the building. So we can't actually comply with that. We need to move it up because you have this existing facade feature. And that's what we show up here, is that 28-foot dimension. Now, what the sign did was in, the square, the architectural, area that it's located in, they kept the same space between the top of the sign and the top part of this square, and then the bottom of the sign, and then on the side. So it's centered, it's placed right in the middle of that. That's essentially what triggers that. You run into these things quite commonly, actually, when you're re-tenanting a site or you're doing an adaptive reuse project, because once again, you're working within the constraints of what we have. But I still think, as I mentioned before, it's a large building, it's a large facade. I don't even think that would necessarily be noticeable, that it would be out of compliance. I think it works well, nice and centered with the building that we have.
And the height that's proposed is actually pretty similar to what was there before, correct, as shown on A2?
That's correct. And now I'm just going to flip to the signage package. This is a blown-up version of the signage package that I believe was submitted to the board.
That's correct.
So I just want to go to So I'm flipping to sheet 4 of this submitted signage package. Let me angle this a little better.
Just reference by the sheet number, if you would, at the bottom.
It is SO2C. So we're seeking relief for both the location of the attached signs and the maximum number of signs per business. I talk about those two variances in unison because I think they go hand in hand. As Mr. Chaplin mentioned, part of Floor & Decor's operation is to have this customer pickup area. You don't want people walking out with large orders and potentially conflicting with pedestrian or vehicular traffic, coming in and out of the front of the stores, so you locate it to the back. But if you're going to have people in the back, you want to have signage, so number one, they are guided to the customer pickup area and they know where to go, and number two, it gives a sense of, it feels a little more inviting when you have signs back there and customers feel like they're allowed to be there rather than a blank, long facade. And that's why we have the customer pickup area on the left side and then the Floor & Decor branded logo on the right side. As Mr. Chaplin mentioned, also we do have, we face Route 80, so it does serve another, marketing purpose of people driving up and down the highway and potentially seeing the rear signage. And then lastly, I will flip to
How big is that sign again?
the customer pickup area sign, or the
Floor & Decor.
The Floor & Decor sign is 108.2 square feet.
Okay.
And then now I'm going to flip to sheet SO7 to talk about the curbside pickup signs. So the maximum directional signage area requirement is 4 square feet, which is permitted. These signs to the right, this is what we're calling the I am here sign. When you pick up an order, when you arrive to pick up your order, you essentially send a text and someone, for the small orders, will run your product out. Now that one complies with the area requirements, 3.97 square feet. Now the one we're seeking relief for is this curbside pickup sign at just over 5 square feet, where 4 square feet is permitted. We apply the directional sign requirements for these, but they're not really directional signs like the small directional signs that you would see coming in and out of the parking lot. They really are to notify people to where the back of the site is to actually find the pickup order. So once again, I don't think it's egregiously over what the maximum area is of that 4 square feet. You want these to be visible. You want to facilitate people into the back. And once again, that 5.2 square feet, it's floor and decor standard. They have these at all their sites. So that sums up the relief that we're seeking. As we mentioned, I think most of this relief is born out of the fact that, number one, we're using an existing building, so you kind of work within the constraints of the site itself. And then number two, the kind of more unique operations of Floor and Decor. They have this customer pickup site. If you're sending people to the back of the building, you want it signed properly, you want to get them there, and then there's a sense of feeling like you're allowed to be there and you know where to go when you're actually back there. So I think that's really where the signage relief is all born out of. When we look at the potential impacts of the proposed development, I don't see any substantial detriment to the public good. As I mentioned, this use is permitted in the zone. The building footprint, the building massing, it's not changing. We're not removing any parking. I think the project actually promotes the public good because, like I mentioned, we're removing a vacancy, and this is a very large space. So I think this is a positive thing for the plaza. I looked at the master plan. The master plan goal 5 is to preserve and enhance the township's retail commercial. I think that we're doing that here. It also mentions to implement land use strategies that respond to modern markets, which I think we have this kind of unique place an order and then you show up to pick it up. So that's why we have the additional signage. So kind of allowing some leniency for that type of operation. I think that aligns with what that goal is trying to state. And then lastly, they talk about considering creative alternatives, including reusing and repurposing existing building stock. So once again, instead of pushing, say, a commercial district outward or rebuilding a new building, we're essentially filling an existing vacancy in a well-established commercial area, which is a positive thing, which is good planning practice. I think just going off of some of the planning goals of this project, we align with many of the purposes of the municipal land use law, specifically Purpose A. As I mentioned, general welfare is promoted by eliminating a vacancy. Purpose H encourages the free flow of traffic. You know, the signage is meant to facilitate people to where they have to go on the site and pick up their orders. Purpose I is promoting a desirable visual environment. You don't want to drive around the plaza and see vacant properties. So, you have an operator who has a track record of being successful and operating very nice stores and sites. I think that shows a positive thing when people, maybe not even for Floor and Decor, but people are visiting the plaza, and you have a positive perception of investment in the commercial district. And then lastly, Purpose M is an efficient use of land. And I think, once again, instead of building new, Floor and Decor has a need for a certain square footage. The certain square footage right here is available. They're retrofitting it for their needs. I think it's a perfect match. So on balance, when I do my C2 benefits versus detriments test, I like to look at, because the state law requires me to, all the positives of the project. Floor and Decor is coming in with a permitted use. They're coming in with a permitted use and eliminating a vacant large property, which is a good thing. You're coming in with an operator that is now, once again, putting up new signage, going to operate a successful business, hopefully take care and contribute to the positive look of the plaza as a whole. And then I think bringing a little more life to that side of the plaza could even be complementary to the other uses in there. People go shopping, people get a bite to eat after, people stop and shop at the other stores. So you have these uses that can work very complementary to one another. So I think it's overall, it's a positive thing. And I think it could be approved under the C2, benefits versus detriments balancing test. and the signage in the front of the building with regards to the height can be approved under both the C2 as well as the C1 hardship criteria in having to work in those constraints of that existing building. That concludes the planning testimony, but...
Thank you. That was a great presentation. I don't have any additional questions.
Ms. Winter, do you have any,
Just where exactly are the curbside pickup signs going?
The spaces in the back, it's on the detailed site plan.
Microphone.
Oh, can you use the microphone? I'm sorry.
So there's some existing spaces in the back of the building where we're proposing that customer pickup. It's going to be located, there's going to be 4 signs for the customer pickup space located in that area.
Those are the I am here signs?
Correct.
What about the other 2 more directional signs? Where are those going?
Those are going to be in the back closer to the customer pickup entrance.
Okay.
Beyond the building.
do you have other?
No, that was it. Just a comment on the signs on the rear of the building. Technically, because of the multiple street frontages, they're allowed, but because of the area of the signs, that's what's really triggering the variance for those.
Yeah, we saw that provision too, and I also saw in some of the prior approvals that it was interpreted, and this may have been at the zoning board, that Route 80 was not considered a frontage. So to be conservative, we applied for the variance. If the board deems it not to be necessary for that reason, that's
But I mean, I think they're
fine.
still required because of the size of the signs.
Certainly for the floor and decor sign, we would, well, I mean, the maximum sign area is 150 square feet, and both of the ones on the rear are under 150 square feet, but there's 3 total, right? And we're, I think, allowed a total of 1.
Right.
And then maybe 1 for the additional frontage. So there's some variance relief required. I'll leave it to the board to determine exactly what that is and to make the appropriate findings in the resolution. We tried to be conservative and apply for everything that might be required, just because it seemed like the past history of the site had interpreted the code as Route 80 not being considered frontage. I guess maybe because there's no access, it wasn't really clear how and why that conclusion was reached.
Okay, other members of the board have questions on this testimony at this time? Hearing and seeing none. Counselor, any members of the public have any questions on this testimony at this time? Hearing and seeing none. Counselor?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That concludes our direct presentation. I think this is a great application for all the reasons that you just heard. If there are any further questions, we'd be happy to entertain them, and if not, we thank you for your consideration.
Okay. Any members of the public? Does our member of the public have any questions on this witness at this time? Anybody from the public who wishes to speak in opposition to this application? In favor of this application? Hearing and seeing none, this closes the evidentiary portion of tonight's hearing. Do I hear a motion?
Okay, Mr. Chairman, for application number 23:535, Floor and Decor, 1123 Route 46, Block 729, Lot 7, minor site plan with C variance for site changes and improvements. I motion to approve I'll let Marina get our conditions, but
I noted that the applicant will comply with the board engineer's report comments regarding the propane cabinet and the stormwater leader cleanout. Is that right? And then the applicant will add a stop sign at the southwest corner of the travel lane, and will work with the board engineer. And pedestrian walk signs will be added, and the applicant will not stripe behind the parking spaces.
Actually, the behind the parking spaces didn't apply. I realized I was looking at the demo plan
Okay.
instead of the actual proposed.
Alright.
They didn't propose it, sorry.
And then I think that was everything.
All right, that's my motion.
I'll second the motion.
Nora, would you call the roll, please?
DePiero,
Yes.
McGrath,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Stanzio,
Yes.
Dinsmore.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Moving right along. I enjoyed that store down in Florida. That was quite something.
It's nice.
It's not gonna be as big as the one I was in. That was enormous. Yeah. All right, does anybody need a break, or do we wanna bull right through here?
I need a break.
All right, we're
You said
taking
2
it.
hours and 15 minutes, that's about 30 minutes from now.
Push them.
We're taking a very quick
I
break.
came at 7:15. That's 9:15.
That's right. Yep.
That's 2 hours.
Okay, taking a
We'll be
break.
back momentarily.
Stand up
At
for a
that
few
time,
minutes.
we will hear our, County of Morris,
Taking a break.
case number 24507. Sorry to keep you late. Those of us who are gonna be here, should we reconvene the meeting? Nora,
Your record.
we're on record. Okay, the meeting of, what is today anyway, May 5th?
May 6th.
May 6th. For the Planning Board of Parsippany-Troy Hills is called back to order. Nora, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. DePiero,
Here.
Mr. Graff.
Here.
Mr. Matt,
Present.
Mr. Shaw.
Here.
Mr. Stanzio.
Here.
Mr. Dinsmore.
Here. We also have our planner, Christine Winter, our engineer, Andrew Cangiano, and Marina Steinley is stepping down. So, if you could, Counselor, if you could.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, everyone. Mark Cimararo and Forney. I'm here this evening representing the County of Morris regarding a Section 31A courtesy review. The property in question is located at 500 West Hanover Road. That's Block 7 and Lot 2. I have 3 witnesses this evening. The first will be Scott DiGirolamo, speaking on behalf of the county. Our second witness will be our architect, Noel Musial, and our third will be our engineer. The application this evening deals with the public safety building of the county. We're seeking to add an additional building with respect to emergency overnight. I apologize. It's the county public safety campus, and it's for a storage facility and emergency shelter. There is no variance relief with respect to the application. Variances don't apply to Section 31A, as you well know, but if they did apply, there would be no variance, as all the bulk standards are complied with. In that regard, I think that I'd like to call my first witness.
We would normally,
There are no waivers. We don't have a checklist.
no waivers, no checklists.
No variance.
I'm assuming we don't have, do we go through the,
Yes, you should have sworn testimony.
okay. Do you want to do it, or shall I?
You're welcome to do it.
I gotta remember.
I asked you to do it.
Do you swear that this is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right.
And my New Jersey driver's license is valid.
So, Mr. DiGirolamo,
I apologize.
Can we have
Don't
your-
interrupt. Can you spell your last name? for
Yes, first name is Scott, last name is D as in David I, capital Giralamo.
me? Thank you.
okay, could you please explain to the board what your position is with the county of Morris?
Sure. I'm the director for the Department of Law and Public Safety in the county, so I have all the non-law enforcement, public safety agencies that work for me.
Okay, and could you explain what they are? I believe it's public health services as well as EMS?
Sure. It is the Public Safety Training Academy, Police and Fire Academy, Emergency Management, the County Division of Public Health, the Medical Examiner's Office, Weights and Measures, and the Fire Marshal's Office, and the 911 Center.
Okay, and you're familiar with the application that we're here this evening for?
I am.
And in your position, did you play a role in assessing what the county's needs were for this facility?
Yes, I did.
Okay, and are you also familiar with the other activities that are currently at the location?
Yes,
Okay, and that's the Fire Academy as well as the Police Academy?
correct.
Okay, are you familiar with the number of buildings on that campus?
Let's see if I studied that. I believe it was 6 or 7.
A total of 6, 4 for the fire and 2 for the police?
Yes, 4 in the back, and then the Police Academy and the Public Safety Complex, which is the 911 Center, and the Emergency Management.
Okay, and that campus is approximately 107 acres?
Yes,
Okay. This building will provide garage services for various equipment?
correct.
And could you detail what those pieces of equipment are?
Sure, primarily,
Not itemize it, but in general.
yeah, primarily the emergency management equipment, ambulances, a lot of the equipment, generators, signboards, variable message boards, mobile ambulance bus, a lot of the equipment that's either out on the fire grounds now outside or in the garages back on the fire grounds.
Okay. And there's some equipment for a special operation group as well?
Sure, that's part of emergency management, which is our tactical medical group.
And where are those pieces of equipment stored now?
In a number of locations, some are in the parking lots in the front of the building, some are back on the fire grounds, some are in the fire building, in the garages in the back, and then some are off-site.
And so some of them are currently stored on this campus presently?
Most of them are, yes.
And are they presently being stored in some of the parking spaces are allotted for the other buildings?
Yes,
Okay. This building is also proposed to provide emergency shelter on occasion, is that correct?
on occasions, that's correct.
Okay, could you say under what circumstances the sheltering will take place?
Sure, it's not to replace what the municipalities are responsible for local sheltering, but we found after Hurricane Irene and some of the other hurricanes, we used the Menon Arena as a mega shelter, and as that wound down, we had to keep that center open for a small number of people, so this would give us the ability to be able to do that on a campus and have pets and some other things that we do, but it doesn't replace what the local emergency management offices would do for sheltering.
And that sheltering would be up to how many people?
I believe about 54 people.
And again, to say it a different way, that's to provide sheltering secondary to what the municipalities would ordinarily provide.
Yes, correct, just to give the county another capability.
Okay. Are there proposed offices that will be situated in the building as well?
In one of the sections, yes, and that would be for the public health division.
Okay. Is there any synergy between the public health division as well as, or with the other offices that are located on site?
Yes, there is. Obviously, we all went through COVID, which was not only a public health run event, but also emergency management, and that's bringing them all onto the same campus. Right now, our health division is up in Randolph, up higher up at the top of the hill.
Okay, it will be providing for greater efficiency to have them located in conjunction with the EMS employees?
Yes, an additional is, in health is our hazmat team, so those hazmat vehicles will be in this same building as well.
Okay. In addition to the garaging as well as the offices and the emergency sheltering, there's warehousing that's being proposed in this building as well?
Yes, correct.
Okay, and the warehousing is to store what type of material?
Really to store emergency commodities, water supply, meals ready to eat. But a lot of what we acquired after COVID, we had at the county in emergency management, we had commodity supplies of protective equipment for the local responders for all the towns. We kept those in Cognex boxes. Some of those got damaged by the heat. We obviously recalculated what we needed after COVID, and that's a much larger quantity, and this would be a facility where we'd be able to store that in a temperature-controlled environment.
Is this facility proposed to be designed in such a way that distribution could be handled to municipalities coming to pick up supplies at times?
Yes, we designed it where it would be a drive-through area, so when the towns came to pick up those commodities, they would be able to bring their vehicles into the warehouse, be loaded and come out, so we didn't have to be concerned about weather, and we didn't expose it to view as we were issuing the equipment.
And how many employees do you estimate will be staffed at this location?
You might have to correct me, I believe we're about 28 people is in the health division.
Okay, and those will be customarily the full-time employees that are staffed at this building?
Correct.
With respect to the emergency sheltering, that sheltering would provide in times of need beds or cots for people?
We have that equipment already, the cots and so forth. This would provide a conditioned space that was designed for a shelter that we could put those people in. We would set that up if an emergency occurred and we needed to do sheltering.
Okay, and the architect will provide testimony shortly, but just so that the board gets the flavor of the type of sheltering that'll take place, there will be kitchen, dining, and bathing facilities for people in case of emergency?
Yes, correct.
Okay. We were asked by the planner to provide a construction timeline with respect to this project. Do we anticipate bids going out by summer of this year? Bid requests?
Yes, our plan is to get the bid requests out by summer of this year.
Okay. And the construction monies that are going to be utilized for this project, are they from the ARPA program?
Yes.
And is there a timeline within which those funds have to be expended?
Yes, they have to be encumbered by the end of this year and they have to be expended by the end of 2026.
Okay, so we anticipate construction being done by then?
Yes.
Okay. I think that's all I have for this witness. He was proffered with respect to expressing the needs of the county as well as explaining what the building was going to be used for. We do have the architect and the engineer to provide more specific answers to questions regarding the site of the building. But I would ask the board, feel free to ask.
Any questions of this?
Questions you may have.
Michael?
Just one. From what you described, it's going to have emergency generators, right?
Yes, it will.
To power at all times.
Yes.
That'll be some of the equipment that's stored inside, correct?
No, there's a permanent emergency generator that is on the plans that's designed to run that facility in the event of a power outage.
Right, okay.
And then inside, temporary generators that would be mobile.
That would be mobile, we deploy, right, the portable generators, or we would deploy those out to
I
towns
was
if
talking
they
about
need
for the
them.
building.
Yes.
Where would you keep the fuel for those? Are those off of gas, or are they,
On the portable generators or diesel fuel that are resident on that, and I'll defer to the architect, but I believe I believe they're diesel fuel for the permanent generator as well.
okay, that's stored on site?
Yes.
The diesel fuel, okay.
Our architect could lend.
And he'll tell us that it's a very safe diesel fuel tank that it's got in and stuff like that. Okay.
Double lined.
Yeah. Any questions down here of this testimony? Any members of the public have any questions in this testimony? Hearing and seeing none. Counselor?
Okay, thank you. That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you. My next witness is Noel Musial, please.
We should have our own. Everybody's come here and
Good evening. Good evening. Could you please give your education, training, and licensure to the board?
Certainly. My education, I have a Bachelor of Architecture degree from Clemson University in Clemson, South Carolina. I have a architect's license in a number of states, New Jersey included, which is up to date. I am also a member of the NCARB, the National Council of Architectural Registration Boards, and I've started my firm in 1976. So we're getting close to the 50-year mark for the firm. We primarily do public work, municipal work, county work throughout the state of New Jersey. I've appeared before planning boards from Sussex County to Cape May County, and I think I was before you a couple of years ago, a few years ago.
Okay.
Could you spell your last name for me? I apologize.
Certainly. First name is Noel, N-O-E-L. Last name is Musial, M-U-S-I-A-L.
Any questions on this gentleman's qualifications? Hearing and seeing none.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So you were retained to provide architectural services with respect to this application, correct?
That is correct.
And in doing so, did you familiarize yourself with the property in question?
Yes, sir. We did a programming study after meeting with the department to outline their needs and then tried to fulfill those needs within this design.
Okay. In so doing, you designed the building in question, correct?
Yes.
And you took into account the topography of the land
Yes, we did.
and the positioning of the building on the piece of property in question as well?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Did you, we know that you prepared both floor plans and elevations with respect to the proposed building that were made part of this application,
Yes,
correct?
that is correct.
And I'm going to ask that you walk us through those plans, but I see the first exhibit that you have up is
Yes.
a rendering of the projected building, or the proposed building, correct?
Correct. This is a rendering of the building from the existing parking lot. Those of you that are familiar with the site, the opposite end of the site from where the 911 facility is, this is the extent of the existing parking lot. So we're going just beyond that to the northwest, I guess. What you're looking at here is the two-story, approximately 12,000 square foot office building, just under 6,000 square feet per floor for the Department of Health. The emergency management vehicles will be in the building to the rear, and this building on the right is the building that will house both the shelter and the warehouse. On the site plan, you'll see as Scott was alluding to earlier, the various municipalities can drive in here, pick up the PPE equipment, and then exit out the other side. Should I label this as Exhibit A1 or?
Sure.
The floor plan, this building is approximately 50,000 square feet footprint that is going to be used for the emergency management. The emergency management vehicle storage area is the area in blue, and that area is approximately 27,000 square feet. The area in the orange is what I referred to before as the Department of Health building. The storage for the shelter is about almost 9,000 square feet, and this plan depicts how you get 54 beds in there, and the toilet rooms, the shower areas are connected to the toilet and the shower areas that take care of the emergency management vehicle area. There's a small kitchen and an area for, the intention is not to cook on site, but to have it brought into the site. And there's also refrigeration equipment where they can store their products. As I mentioned, this is the drive for the municipalities to enter, pick up their product within the building, and then exit out. This is the general warehouse area, which is approximately 14,000 square feet. We also have a mezzanine area over the toilet rooms because this is a relatively odd space. So we're making use of some of that mezzanine space for storage as well. The emergency generator that Scott alluded to is on the far side of the building, and it has a day tank under the generator itself that will have about, I believe, 48 hours or 72 hours of fuel for the emergency generator, which is enough to power the entire building. Also, the transformer, Hanover Road is just down here below the building. I have another...
Before you go on to another exhibit, let's mark this B2.
Okay.
This is a colorized floor plan of the first floor, correct?
That's exactly right. The only difference with this and the floor plan that was submitted is that we did away with a lot of the indications of the various types of equipment that are in there. There's approximately 42 different types of equipment within this garage area. So we just cleaned up a little bit and made it more of a presentation for it. But it's shown on the plan that was submitted to you as A101.
Okay, and just to refresh the members' recollection of that plan, the wall that's to the top of the plan has a number of different garage doors.
Yes.
And the storage spaces were as deep as 3 vehicles deep, I believe.
Yes, it depends on the size of the vehicle. Their mobile command center will take up almost the entire depth of the garage area.
Okay. Now, the green area that you had indicated is the area for emergency sheltering. In times when emergency sheltering does not take place, that'll be used for storage as well, correct?
Yes, and it may be used for things like the sign trailers that they have around showing different, that the police put up, things of that nature that can be easily moved outside, because this is a gravel area that will be overflow storage, and they can move those vehicles out to that area so that they can now use it for the cots and the beds.
Okay. Now, looking at this particular floor plan, could you, do you have a separate floor plan for the second floor?
Yes.
Okay, can you go on to that?
Sure.
Again, this is colorized?
Yes.
So could we mark that as, I guess, A3? Okay, could you walk us through that?
This is the office building. As you remember, the parking is on this side. So this is simply the second floor, which is general office space, and it's actually a couple thousand square feet for future expansion. We have also the purple area here, which is the mezzanine storage space, which has a computer room that will service the entire facility.
Okay. Was there another exhibit that you brought with you?
This exhibit just gives you a general idea of where the building is, where Hanover Road is, and the gray is the new building. The office building is at this end, closest to the parking. This is the gravel area. This is, I'll let the engineer talk about this, but this is the existing detention area that was sized large enough for future expansion of the site. The 911 center and the police academy are all these buildings in white, and these are the solar panels that are over the parking. So you can see the existing parking is to this area, and then we have the drive to get into the overhead doors, and then also we have a loading dock, which will be infrequently used, probably more at the beginning when they have to stock the building. But you have a loading dock there, and then, as we mentioned before, a door that comes in, and you exit here, and then can go out.
Okay, can we mark that as A4? And obviously, everything that's superimposed on that aerial photograph is to scale.
Yes.
You also submitted elevations as part of the application.
Yes, and I don't have them here only because you can see how small they are. It's a big building, it's a few hundred feet long, so it doesn't really show very much. So I thought that a rendering would do better justice than the elevation.
Okay, and so that elevation, or this rendering rather, is to scale as well?
Yes, yes.
And that's a perspective coming from the existing
From the existing
parking lot?
That's correct.
Okay. There's no further portions of the building that you designed that we didn't discuss. We covered everything, correct?
We covered everything except outlining the vehicles that are in there.
Okay. Do you have an approximate number of vehicles that this could house? I know it varies depending, and these are all large-scale vehicles.
Yes.
For different emergency applications.
Yes, and not only vehicles, but there's some trailers in there too. So if you count the number of vehicles that are shown on the floor plan and trailers, it's actually 42.
Okay.
But that number can vary either way. The one important thing is that the doors up front are the doors that will house the ambulances. So in the morning, they come pick up the ambulance and go distribute it to whatever location they're assigned for that day.
Okay. And the key function of this building in that capacity was to have a structure to house these vehicles, which are now outside.
Yes.
Parked outside. Okay, thank you. I have no other questions.
Any members of the board have questions on this, Gordon?
I think you touched on it. If you call up, did you label it B2 instead of A2? But
Yeah, it should be A2.
sorry,
But
okay.
yeah, let's
No,
go with A2.
the other one.
A second.
So the squared off gravel area, that's specifically for storing vehicles in overflow situation?
It's more for the, those large mobile generators that they have, and for the sign, trailers, and some things that aren't, appropriate to put inside.
Okay. But it's gonna be storing vehicles, basically, or
Yes.
rolling? Okay, thank you.
Other members?
Yeah.
Michael?
And just a quick question. To get to the second floor, is it an elevator or
Oh, yes.
stairwell?
There's both. There's, parking here. The main entrance is in the corner of the building, and there's an elevator that goes to the second floor. And that elevator also would have access to the mezzanine if need be.
Okay, thank you.
Other members of the board? Any members of the public have any questions? Hearing and seeing none, Counselor?
Okay, thank you. Our next witness is going to be our engineer, Christian Quayle.
So what number are we up to now?
This would be A5. Okay, you want A4?
Yes.
Okay. Could you please state your name for the record?
My name is Christian Cueto, Christian, Cueto, Cueto.
Christian is our engineer, so I'd like to have him sworn in for that, Mr. Chairman.
Do you promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, Christian, can you give the board the benefit of your education, training, and licensure?
Sure. I graduated from NJIT. I'm a professional with a degree in civil engineering. I've been practicing engineering for the past 16 years. My license is in good standing. I've appeared in multiple boards across the state. I sit on the Kenilworth board as the borough engineer.
Any questions on this gentleman's qualifications? All right.
Okay, so Christian, your firm was retained to provide site civil engineering services for this project, correct?
That's correct.
And you're familiar with the plans that we had submitted as part of this application?
Yes, I am.
Okay, you either prepared those plans or oversaw them?
Yes.
Okay, and in the preparation of those plans, did you familiarize yourself with the township zoning code?
Yes.
And you familiarize yourself with the property and the surrounding properties?
That's correct.
Okay, and you're also familiar with the client's needs?
Yes.
Could you please explain to the board the existing site?
Sure. Label this A5.
Sure. And could you say what that is?
This is a aerial map, and we overlaid existing tax map information, including block and lots and street names. This is the site for the Morris County Public Safety Complex. As stated, this is a 107-acre site. It's represented by the red line around the entire lot area. The address is 500 West Hanover Avenue. The site is located along the municipal boundary of Parsippany and the Township of Morris. As stated, there are several buildings located on the site for police and fire, along with a parking area along which on here is shown with the solar paneling adjacent to it. Access into the site is via two driveways along West Hanover. The easterly driveway goes into the site, into the parking area, and around the site to the fire training area to the back, and then around the site again, exiting back onto West Hanover Avenue. Describing the site around, across the street again is Morris Township. There's a lot of Morris County facilities, Office of Temporary Assistance, Sheriff's Office, Juvenile Detention Center, and a healthcare nursing area, and a homeless solutions care facility here. To the northeast is the, I'm not sure if this greenhouse is still in use, but based on the map, that's what I found, along with the Greyhound Park Psychiatric Hospital. There are some residential uses located adjacent to the site. There's about 4 or 5 houses off of Koch located east of the site, and along Long Road, which shares their rear lot line with the site. This area here is approximately 1,900 linear feet from the back of the home, approximately, to the existing buildings that are located on our site. The amount of existing impervious is approximately 835 square feet, which is 12.3% of the overall site. The yellow shown here represented is the wetlands based on NJDAP GIS information when we overlaid that onto our property. And as you can tell, 2 of them are on the other side of the police buildings
and we have another one here, which is on the other side of the above-ground detention basin. That is pretty much all for the existing conditions.
What is the pale orange box?
This area here is the proposed building. The orange represents the building, the brownish area is the gravel area, and the gray is the asphalt area.
Okay, could you, with your hand, just point out to the board where the closest residential development is to that building?
Right here,
Okay, could you estimate how far that is from?
about 500 linear feet.
Okay, and do you have an estimate for the amount of wooded distance would be between the building and those residential areas?
It is about like 500 square feet.
500 linear feet?
Yeah.
Right.
Outside linear feet,
Okay, so it'll be
yes.
about 500 feet of woods still existing between the building after it's constructed and the nearest residential neighborhood, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Okay, could we move on to the site? While you're looking for that, we're not encroaching upon any wetlands or wetlands buffers, are we?
No, we are at least 220-something feet away from the nearest wetland. And most buffers can only go up to like 150.
And in fact, according to the aerial that you had just shown, the existing structures or existing buildings are closer to both of the spotted
Yes.
wetlands.
That's correct. So this, I guess this will be A6.
Right.
This is just a color rendering of our, I guess, sheet 3 of our layout and dimensioning plan. And we show the proposed building. It's kind of S-shaped with approximately 333 feet long along the front end, and along the rear end, it's about 232 and 200 feet deep. The applicant is proposing to reconfigure the parking area and add some additional parking spaces adjacent to the detention basin and to the building. As stated, there are some eight double doors and a single door along the front of the building. Along the rear, there's 3 double doors and 1 smaller door. This is the loading area that they would be able to back into for delivery. And again, this is the drive-through area that cars will come in to the building and come out. The additional impervious will be increased to approximately 582 square feet. That also includes about over 30,000 square feet of gravel area for the site. To develop the site in this approximately 83,000 square feet of woods would have to be removed for the construction of the site. The amount of parking for the site is approximately 431 spaces. We're looking to increase that to 453. Based on discussions with the applicant, the amount of existing parking spaces is sufficient, but as stated, a lot of their storage occupies some of these parking spaces, and when they construct this building, that will free up a lot of the parking spaces. So even with the addition, they'll have plenty of parking spaces for the new use.
Okay. And we understand that there's approximately 30 to 35 pieces of equipment that's currently stored on the adjoining parking lot that will be internalized in our building.
Yes, in front of the police and also on the fire in the back.
So with the parking spaces that are freed up, plus the 22 additional you believe that there's adequate parking here to accommodate whatever operations exist in this building, including the new employees?
Yes. Lastly, let me get into the stormwater. As previously stated, this above here, I know it's kind of hard to see, but this is the above-ground detention basin that was oversized based on the initial design of this project because they were looking to one day expand. And based on an analysis, the addition of this building and the parking lot will only slightly increase the runoff into the site, and it's almost negligible based on the size of the basin. But we are not making any improvements to the basin or the outlet control structure, and everything should drain into the basin.
So the stormwater, we did prepare a stormwater management
Report and resubmit it.
And your conclusions are that the existing infrastructure plus what you construct as part of this application is sufficient to handle all the stormwater runoff?
Yes,
And it's compliant with DEP regulations, correct?
that's correct.
Okay. We are not proposing any green infrastructure with respect to this application?
No, we're not.
Okay. Do you have any opinion as to whether or not we would be impacting any flood hazard area or floodplains?
No, well, we are not.
Okay. I have no other questions, Mr. Chairman.
Any members of the board have questions on this witness, this testimony?
I've got a few, but I can let somebody else go first if they want.
Actually, I was gonna turn to Andrew and see if he has anything.
Do Andrew first, because maybe he'll take it up mine.
I don't have any questions. The biggest question was about the gravel area and the parking, and that's been answered.
Okay, then we'll turn to you, Gordon.
On that gravel area, so first of all, it looks like the wall there is about almost 8.5 feet high on one end to 4.
Yes, it's a very steep part of the site.
What type of wall is it gonna be?
It's going to be Allen block.
Okay, because the detail on your Allen block says maximum height 3 feet.
I'll adjust that.
Okay, all right. It looks like it slopes about 5%. Is that okay for the vehicles?
Yes.
All right. And the last thing, grading wise, I guess right in the corner of the building where they meet in that corner.
This one?
No, where the two pieces meet. Keep moving your finger right there. That elevation looks like it's, like water's gonna be trapped there. It might just be a typo.
It might be a typo. I'll take a look at it.
Yeah, because it's basically lower than the elevation of the rest of the gravel area and the first floors.
Yeah, I'll take a look at it and I'll revise it.
Okay, that's all my questions. Thanks.
Okay, any other members of the board?
Just a question about, you're gonna maintain as much tree buffering along
Yeah,
the-
they'll try. I really tried to limit the amount of disturbance for the area, and we'll try to look at, possibility of saving as many trees as they can.
Actually, I got one more.
Okay.
The wall, is there going to be like any kind of barrier or something to keep people from falling over?
Yeah, I think we're going to put a railing.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, any other questions?
I just wanted to add, I'm guessing this plan is not the final plan going to construction. You'll have to detail this out accordingly for bid this will go out to bid,
Yes.
this project?
Yes.
Okay, so we have several comments about guide rail on the wall safety.
Yeah, we can add all, we can comply with,
Right.
we don't have, but we will.
I figured this is a preliminary set and you have to further detail that out to go to bid.
Yes.
So you intend to keep our engineer in the loop on these? things?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Hearing and seeing none, any questions by the public on this testimony at this time? Hearing and seeing none. Counselor?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So that concludes our presentation. The board's aware of the fact that we had submitted an application cover sheet. That cover sheet also included a narrative as to, an explanation as to the nature of this project. It included a site plan package of 10 sheets, an architectural facts for 3 sheets, as well as a stormwater management report. The board's professionals have reviewed this. The planner had concluded that the project was consistent with the master plan. Your superintendent of water and sewer had no comment as well. As you know, this is a Section 31A application, so it is an application not for approval, but it's a courtesy review for comment. And we would respectfully request that you make your recommendations and provide them to us at your earliest convenience.
Okay. Any members of the public wish to speak in opposition or in favor of this application? Hearing and seeing none. We're in kind of a funny position where we actually only have 4 voting members right now. But that's all right. We're all going to provide a brief commentary, if we have one, on whether or not we find this consistent or inconsistent with the master plan. Our professionals have all told us it appears to be consistent, or should I say, not inconsistent with the master
There
plan.
was not one.
And,
The master plan speaks directly to one of the goals being support state, county, and regional plans as providing growth management and addressing large-scale planning issues. And obviously, public health and safety speaks directly to the MLUL and those goals. And policy being that the township will continue to coordinate with those efforts. So it is consistent.
okay, so you have found that it's consistent, and I have seen nothing that lends me to believe that it's not inconsistent with the master plan. Members of the board, do you have any comments on what you believe has been presented here before us?
That's a big building.
Yes.
That's gonna solve the needs of many of the crew at the county level.
Agreed, and it's good to have an emergency facility like that in Parsippany, in my opinion. So I'm comfortable with that.
I'm comfortable that it's consistent with our master plan, or not inconsistent.
Jigger, what do you think?
I don't know.
You don't find it to be inconsistent with the master plan?
No.
Good.
It's inconsistent.
Good. All right, any comments from the public? Hearing and seeing none. This closes the evidentiary portion, and thank you very much for your
I appreciate your time. Thank you.
courtesy.
Thank you.
Enjoy it. Yep, good night. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? It's the